Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here. This time reviewing on Wallace Gromit A Grand Day Out. Now, as you know, Wallace Gromit A Grand Day Out is a 1989 stop-motion animated short film that pretty much starred Wallace and Gromit in their first sort of short film and was directed, co-written and animated by Nick Park, who also did Creature Comfort, Chicken Run, Shaun the Sheep, and Early Man. Now, pretty much the short did appear on November the 4th in 1989 at a film festival and would eventually be released on TV in December 24th, 1990 during Christmas Eve on Channel 4. So pretty much the premise of the short film is meant to follow Wallace and Gromit, who are deciding where to go for their bank holiday and decide to kind of go to the moon as they believe it's made out of cheese. So we kind of see how they gather what they can to build their rocket, and this is where we see them journeying beyond the stars. And I think for the most part, given the fact this is the first Wallace and Gromit film that was done, you can tell there was a lot more early work. There was a bit more early sort of plasticine work done, mostly with Wallace, and you can kind of tell some of the areas in the house weren't fully shown around in the later films. And I think for the most part, I give it credit that it's kind of having this, still that kind of Wallace and Gromit adventure. I know originally Gromit was meant to talk and had ideas for who was going to voice who, but I kind of prefer the idea that Gromit didn't talk, because you could tell from his expressions he either got annoyed with Wallace's incompetence or just got annoyed with his sort of immature behaviour. And of course, when they do kind of land to the moon, they have to kind of not only sort of find what the sort of moon from the cheese is made of, but also have to deal with a dangerous robot who is after them for certain reasons. And I know the film is sort of like this golden eye to the Wallace and Gromit community, and I think for the most part it does work well. It shows you kind of Wallace and Gromit going on a big epic adventure. You see them sort of being on the moon, not wearing any sort of protective gear. And I think for the most part the humour does work, because I like the idea that the mice kind of put on their little sunshades as soon as the rocket takes off. I also like the idea that we do kind of see how Wallace and Gromit kind of take anything from the house to build their rocket, and you gotta give them credit for their workmanship. And I think this is also where I think the film having the robot doesn't really work, because it doesn't really feel like a believable threat. I know Nick Park originally had the idea for there to be multiple robots and a whole civilization. I think the way the short could have worked was have it that Wallace ended up committing an international incident by sort of accidentally eating the sort of special cheese that the robots create. Have it that Wallace is dragged down to their society to face a proper judgment. Have it that Gromit journeys out to rescue Wallace, and then sort of having to rush back to the rocket, and then deciding to never go back again after the event. It just kind of feels like they wanted to tragically make the robot a bit of a tragic character, but again, I think if they stayed with the whole society of other robots living on the moon, it would have made sense. And it would have reminded me of the Mondasian Cybermen, showing how a once civilization were now kind of reduced to being sort of shells of their former selves. I think for the most part, yeah, the humour does work at places, and you can tell Nick Park was trying to do what he could for 23 minutes. So I kind of think, yeah, A Grand Day Out is an okay-ish film. It's not going big, it's not going massive, but it's giving you a slice of life story. So I think it definitely deserves thumbs in the middle. It's kind of okay, kind of alright, but you can tell what Nick Herc was trying to do for his big, epic kind of Wallace and Gromit films. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.